Hi there. I am Cindy Kuhn. I'm a futurist and an AI enthusiast and adventurer, explorer of Gen AI. And I had a recent request to share the knowledge I have obtained since November 22, almost 2 years we're coming up on here. And out of that, I reached out to the friends I've made in AI to ask what were folks doing to put together all the different things they have done over the last almost 2 years in generative AI across making films and songs and writing and making images and all of the things people have been engaged in to test out all the different platforms and tools. And a group of us have been incredibly active and realized everything was just kind of everywhere. And we hadn't put together a portfolio or an inventory of everything we had created to this date. So a group of us got together at the salon where I host the AI prototyping club, and we worked together in a 4-week sprint, and we talked about what was important and what are we trying to do and share. And we realized that there's a lot of value in encouraging people who are early in this Gen AI space to collect in some manner that is fitting for their practice what they have done and what they have put together. Because I really firmly believe that this time in our existence is historical. And I think that the people who were the early adopters are going to want to look back at this time and are also going to need to be the helpers. I very much believe that a tidal wave is in fact coming, and a lot of people will be underwater. And when they come up for air and look around, those of us who are playing in the Gen AI space, we have a responsibility to be the helpers. People are going to come up for air after the tidal wave hits them, and they're going to look around and they need to see rafts. They need to see the generous helpers who have built rafts. That's what this idea for this workshop today is: building your raft so that you are prepared and you have everything in place with what you've done thus far in generative AI, so that you can, in fact, have a raft and help people when the wave hits to get through the initial shock of coming on board and using generative AI in a playful, experiential way, so we eliminate as much fear as possible. So, with that, today we're going to do a walkthrough of how to build a dynamic for you, your purpose, and your practice AI inventory or portfolio. So I'm going to do a walkthrough step by step for the community playing this space so that you can begin to build your raft to be prepared and be a helper. My raft personally has couches on it and bookshelves, and I am ready to help people with Gen AI. So this is just the beginning. All right, I am going to share my screen and we're going to walk through how to make an inventory that a group of us put together in a 4-week sprint that we think will start to help people to build those rafts. All right, let's go. All right. So we are going to together build an AI portfolio or inventory, whatever the name is. The idea here is creating one location, one dynamic place that you can go to that you know you can source all of the different things you've done in Gen AI ever since you've jumped in, whatever that beginning date is for you. So this is a real introduction and a step-by-step on how to do this. You may have more ideas, but really think about this as a motivator to get all your stuff organized into one place so that you're ready to help support and reach out to whoever might need help. All right, so who am I? Again, am Cindy Kuhn. I'm a time traveler and a rule bender. I really get into nerdy data in the social science practice that I'm a part of. I'm a real curious questioner, and I'm an applied futurist and an AI adventurer. That's who's leading the way here today. All right, so again, why create an inventory portfolio? Why spend the time doing this? Because I will say it'll probably take a couple weeks to put all this together, not just because you have to run around and get links and images and things like that, but also because when you go to bed at night, you'll think of 3 more things you've done that you have to add to your list. So it's definitely an ongoing endeavor. And it's also something really good to do to check in with other people who are playing in the Gen AI space, because they'll help remind you, oh, remember you did this thing too. So the idea of having this as a documentation record for the tools, the outcomes, the things you've created, the things that are hilarious that you're going to want to hold on to, those 6-finger figures that in the future are going to be really valuable to have in place. You also want to have an inventory as a way to showcase what you've done thus far in Gen AI to other partners, collaborators, and potential clients or employers if you're looking for gigs in this space. The idea behind this is you'll be able to very easily show folks, here's what I've done thus far in this space. Again, it also allows you reflection. So you can review and analyze your progress over time, and you can see, interestingly, perhaps, what is your lane? What do you kind of gravitate to? And what are the things that interest you the most? And you can start to see those patterns for yourself. And that can be really directional to say, oh, this might be an area I should pursue more. I seem to keep going in this kind of space. This kind of activity allows you the time to really think those things through. And then just staying really organized. So, having a list of projects that are completed, ongoing, another one that's like interesting things you want to try, and then you can move them over to once they're created. It's a way to keep moving forward in your thoughts, your ideas, and collecting things, even if they haven't been created yet. Creating a list of ideas or people you might want to partner with also allows you to hold on to this time that I think is really important and valuable. So the first step to creating your portfolio is really defining what is the scope for you. So over the 4-week sprint, we really realized that each one of us had a very unique use purpose for why we would spend time creating this. Everyone was different, and it was important to give everybody room and space to create in the way they would create. So we looked at different project types and created kind of categories around that, but not every category was relevant to each person. We looked at the tools and the technologies. We documented those because we're well aware that some of these tools will one day go away and some of them will rise up that might surprise us. So keeping track of, what did we get to play with? Oh, remember back in the day, there was this that we all enjoyed. This is what this is good for. It keeps track of all of the stuff we're working on right now as a historical reference. So it also lets you keep track of who did you collaborate with, who were partners, who during this frenzy of activity of time did you connect with to co-create? Because again, over time, we may need to look back at these documents to recall, because everything is moving so fast right now. So Once you've determined what is my use out of this, what is my purpose for pulling this together, and what would it serve for me and the community that I support. Once you have that, now you want to move into step 2 of creating your portfolio, and you need to start collecting all of the relevant projects and things. So you'll want to create your own framework for your own categories. So you want to think about project titles, descriptions, the tools, the technology used. And Kyle Shannon, who was a part of our sprint, made the brilliant determination too that it's really important in all of this to include dates. This is the indicator of you were here early, you played with the things while they were still janky. That project date duration piece of your portfolio becomes a really important attribute that you can gift to yourself now, that your future self will thank you for. You also want to document outcomes and results. What happened? Did you deploy something? Did you build something? What came from it? And this can be anything, big, small, in between. Roles and responsibilities. So what was your role on the project? Keep note of this, keep track of this, because we're using language right now that 2 years from now, we may not be using. Prompt engineer is probably going to disappear. So things like that are important to capture. All right. Now you got to start organizing your data. This is what's going to take you the most amount of time to run around to all the different locations and to figure out how do you want to capture this. So you want to think about what were the categories. And I think after running our sprint, we all really determined that everyone's categories really are unique. I'll show you some models in a minute for some that we came up with, but I think what's really important is when you're going to talk about this in your language with your community, having the language that connects to your practice in your community is what's going to be most vital. So when you're organizing and you're thinking about putting all of your different links and images and everything into categories, think about what impacts you the most and what would impact your community through language, words, and everything in this list. Okay, so now you have to choose a format. So I'm going to show you examples of several formats shortly here. But in our sprint, we determined that a really good thing to start with is a spreadsheet. So we used a Google Sheet, and I'll show you the example of that, because it's a really practical way to do columns of descriptions, dates, if you had collaborators, the links, everything can really go in that spreadsheet for you to reference. You can also use Google Docs or a Word doc, and you can add narrative to this. If you have a website, you might start to think about posting your whole portfolio on that. Akin to that is creating a portfolio in Canva to be placed anywhere. You can create databases. You can decide what's the best way for you to show off everything you have created during your Gen AI adventuring. So determine that. And then the final step is really to build and populate your portfolio. Once you know I'm going to start as a Google Sheet or a Canva or a Word doc or whatever is comfortable for you, then get at it. Start to create those categories and those different sections and stick with it. And if you decide to make a change, go through and change that on everything. But having those kind of key labels will help you be able to sort and say, here's all the GPTs I've built. Here's all the Mid-Journey projects. Here's all the video projects. Here's all the song projects. Then you really want to start inputting as many components as you have for each relevant piece. So if your films you made on LTX Studios are on YouTube. You can put links to each one of those. If you have a portfolio on Suno, if you have placed a ton of Midjourney images, you can put those into a portfolio. So it's time now to gather all the parts and pieces to show off each of the AI components you've done in whatever way that is valuable to you, your community, and your practice. So think about things you've written, think about every piece connected to the AI work that you've done, images, screenshots, everything. Okay, so here is a visual example of the sprint we did as a group that we decided to build in Google Sheets. And this was really, really useful to start on the left-hand side. These are the categories, and there are many more than this. I'm just showing you a screenshot. I got up to 40 lines of things I have done in Gen AI since November 22. And so there are several categories, and then named the project, then created a description of the project, posted the link to the project, if there were co-authors or co-collaborators, what tools, technologies were used in the creation of it, and the date it was created. This was a great undertaking, and I will continue to maintain it and keep it updated as a nice expanse example for me to be able to pull from to demonstrate all the variety of things I've done in this space. So the next example is you can create a Canva portfolio or another software that you use. I mean, you can do this in PowerPoint if that's what you have. So what I did is the beginning here is my AI talk that I give. And then we move into all the different visual categories that I could represent of what I have done in Gen AI. And all of these have links. So this portfolio is available to connect right through to links of any of the creations that are available to share. Up next, I took all of my writing that I've done in Gen AI. So I have lots of pieces published on Medium and published a book with a group of people from the salon. Took all of those writings of my pieces and I put them into one PDF doc, which I will continue to, it's a Google Doc, and then I can, of course, export it as a PDF, and I will continue to keep that updated as a running everything I have personally written in AI so that it's not dispersed across folders and different docs. While they live there in their spaces of reference, I also have this larger doc that has everything I've written on Gen AI inside of it. And then I had myself interviewed. So it's one thing to link to projects and endeavors that I've done and completed and collaborated on, but there are a lot of stories. There are a lot of things that have happened over the last almost 2 years that are an important part of the spirit, the energy, and the community around this Gen AI space. And so I realized it was also really important. So I had one of my partners interview me for an hour and a half. And why it was important that I was interviewed instead of just recording myself was because there were stories that I thought I told enough. And my partner was able to say, no, speak more to that. Tell more about that story. That's an important component of creating your inventory, is grabbing all of your stories, funny things, opportunities, people you have met, people you have shown Gen AI to in coffee shops or at family gatherings. Gather those stories because they matter as a part of all of the pieces you have created around Gen AI. And the interview is an important and very useful way to do that. So then once you have the portfolio or the inventory created, you need to schedule in a regular ad of the stuff you are updating. So I'm going to commit for myself to quarterly update every new thing I've added so that I can maintain this without it being a laborious effort once a year. Every 3 months, I'll have sticky notes on my desk of things that I have undertaken since the last iteration. And that constant updating will mean that I don't have to slow down at all when the tidal wave hits. And I can really be available to help and support people because all of my things will be in place. And that's the ultimate goal here, is to help others with everything we've learned and know. And that's step 7. Is so creating this portfolio is a way for you to, in fact, generously be available to help others without having to slow down and just going right into supporting them with what you've already done. Because a lot of us have created things that just taking those exact things and helping others, we don't even have to lift a finger. A lot of things are right in front of us, but if we have them conveniently organized in an inventory, we'll be able to grab them and help others and share out. And that's the ultimate real goal behind creating this, is how can we help others? And the best way to do it is put our mask on first, build our raft, and be ready to offer that support. So with that, go build your own dynamic AI inventory portfolio. Help others, be there for others, be there for yourself, and use this as a way to, when people ask what's going on in there, you don't have to start from scratch, but you can say, what are you interested in? Songs? Let me show you. I have them organized right here. Films, writing. Having those things that they're ready mean your raft is ready and you're going to be there to help others. So with that, I hope that you build an AI inventory portfolio. And when you do, share it inside the salon, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and any other place you share so that others can do it too. Awesome. Have a great day.